Welcome, everyone, to the Walking Dead panel at the 92nd Street Y. Also, welcome to Yahoo viewers who are the panel is live streaming tonight on Yahoo. So welcome to viewers there also. You clearly know who these people are, but I will go ahead and tell you their names anyway. Mr. Scott Gempel, showrunner. Mr. Stephen Yun, Glenn Lives. The lovely Lauren Cohen. The lovely Denai Gurara. The lovely Melissa McBride. The most lovely of all, Mr. Michael Cudlitz. So before we get into season 6, I just want to take a quick informal poll of everyone. You've seen the mid-season finale again, so you're kind of reminded of where we left off. You've seen those first incredible 4 minutes of the mid-season premiere. Anybody going out for Valentine's Day dinner this weekend? Or you staying home, I'm guessing?
Do you know what they show?
You got some very long answers there.
I think there's going to be a lot of Valentine's brunching this year. Yeah,
Yes.
definitely. I think we also have to say before we jump in, Glenn Lives. Let's just celebrate that again. Stephen, what was that like for you, though? This cast is so interactive with viewers, with fans on social media, at Comic-Con events, at fan events like this. What was that like for you, having to kind of be underground?
It was, excuse my voice, it was pretty intense. It was kind of every emotion you could possibly feel in one given moment. The worst part was I was running out of room for takeout boxes inside the apartment. But, honestly, the coolest part of it all was the fact that, Scott and I have talked about this, is to have that collective experience, We don't get to do that much these days because there's so many things to watch, and to have this show and the fans, the wonderful fans, be able to come together and be moved and say it out loud was pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome. So thank you, guys. Thank you.
Scott, if you wanted to get into a little bit of, before we go back over season 6A, a lot of people were talking about the story structure of the first half of the season. It was very nonlinear, great cliffhangers throughout that we still don't have answers to. But then there was that great cliffhanger in the middle in season 3 that we did get the answer to. What will season 6 be like in terms of the pace and the style of the storytelling?
Well, we try to do a different 8 episodes, not just different episodes, but different in its spirit every 8 episodes. We try to reinvent the show every half season. And this half season is some of the most dark, scary, twisted stuff. I think the characters themselves go to some very dark places, but at the same time, we go to some of the lightest places. We actually attempt a comedic episode. Intentionally comedic. There is comedy, or at least attempted comedy. There's actually some sweetness, and then it's interspersed with this incredibly dark stuff. I think this is also a season that builds a little bit invisibly. The first half had a lot of sort of separated groups that eventually come together. There's a lot of group episodes in the second half. And yet, there are wheels turning, and I'm hoping that all you guys will be surprised when it builds to its conclusion. It's been a bear. It's been a bear, but we're really proud of, and we can't believe we're here. We can't believe we're about to show you it. So You know, I apologize for ruining your Valentine's Day. But I think all your relationships will grow stronger because of it.
Speaking of Valentine's Day, Mr. Cudlitz, what might we expect from your romantic pursuits in
Right.
season 6? Some dolphin smooth ways
'Cause I
with
know
the
what I'd be doing in a
ladies.
zombie apocalypse. Just saying. In what regard?
Well, we learned of a new relationship interest for you this season, at the beginning of the first half of the season. What might happen there? And you've got some entanglements to take care of first.
I think they got some stuff to work out. I'm good. It's a new world order.
Doesn't sound very.
Did we, when we see Abraham in the first episode of the season, he gets into the car with Sasha. She asks him, why is he getting into the car with her if he has some doubts about her kind of state of mind, and he doesn't answer. Did he know at that point that he was interested in her, or is he kind of working on his own stuff still at that point?
I think for him there was a strange attraction that he's not necessarily aware of why, or sort of processing it as it happens. Something about the situation tells him he needs to be with her. He does identify with her. He has seen other people in battle go through what he believes she's going through. What he doesn't realize is that he really needs her help more than she needs his help at this point. So they do come together from their shared experience, from the loss that they've had. But I don't think there's anything calculated about it. At least that's not how I played it. I think that it's better if the audience goes on that journey with you, and you all sort of discover it at the same point and sort of go, whoa, what? And then you kind of go back in your mind and you go, oh, he put himself in that position, which is what I think we do in life. I think we make choices all the time that we're not aware of why we made those choices until you look back at it and you sort of reflect and you say, oh, I did that. I pushed that person away, or I pulled that person closer because I needed them or they needed me. So, and I think there's a lot of that that's going on. And that's how we tell stories. I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That was a great answer.
It was a great answer.
We're going to slowly peel off.
Maggie, same question for you, and Lauren, same question for you. Regarding Maggie and Glenn, there's going to be a reunion, we hope. There's certainly a reunion pending at the end of the season, but there's still obviously a lot that they're dealing with, her pregnancy.
What's your name?
Glenn.
Steven. No, that wasn't a joke about that. I was just pretending we just met each other so we could have a funny reunion right now, but
I
the joke's
ruined
over.
it.
No, you didn't ruin it.
I always ruin it.
I didn't think it through, and then it's okay. We're all still here.
I'm
okay.
sorry.
Well, pretend now. You can
Yeah.
still have that reunion now. No, but what will that be like for these two characters that, and obviously, they've been through some rough things. At least she
Yeah.
knows he's still alive, but still.
Yeah, I think that she sees him in a still very perilous position, and as we saw when Maggie and Aaron are talking, she sort of accepts finally that you can't be as reckless and brazen and go out there and risk, your entire family, yourself, your baby, if he is alive, and she goes out there looking for him, risking the life of the unborn child. There are a lot more factors to take into account. But it's pretty crazy, the mountains and the trials that Maggie and Glenn have been through. And this pregnancy is the newest and the most exciting of all of those, but it also is such a clear choice for her and such a good choice for them. I think they're both very excited. We've got so many nice gifts already. All yellow, though, just keeping it gender neutral. So, yeah. I can't follow cutlets.
Well, you just wait till that baby comes out with red hair.
That's
I'm all.
sort of a spoiler there. Want to wait for the episode.
Every baby on the show has red hair.
Yeah, it's Shane's baby.
I was going to say, Judith is sort of redheaded.
Do you think that she's a little more, we don't know what the current state of Alexandria is, but we know certainly at the end of the season it wasn't as nice and standing as we would have liked it to be. Do you think that once she sees the destruction, that whatever that amount of destruction is, that will make her more concerned about having the child? Because the last time we saw a pregnancy was Lori, and that was very difficult. I think maybe Maggie saw some stability in Alexandria, and maybe that gave her a little more confidence with her pregnancy. What will that do to her now that Alexandria is in tatters?
No, I think what this baby gives her is more confidence in the world. I mean, she has such an undeniable fire for survival that even the feisty girl she was before is nothing for Mother Maggie now. It's just, It's been so much fun. The challenges that we've had the second half, that where she might have stopped or considered, there's no conversation, there's no hesitation. It's all, what do I need to do to make this happen? This is what's happening. And it's been super. Like, it's been a really, I feel like the Maggie that crushed eggs on Glenn's head is back, but she's just a little bit wiser and a little bit more mature. But she has a lot of fun this year.
Fantastic.
Good.
Denai, when we left you in the mid-season finale, you had this great, Michonne had these great bonding moments with Deanna before she died. And she asked her a very important question: what did she want for herself in Alexandria and just in general? What do you think the answer to that is? Because Michonne didn't know at that point, wasn't able to answer. What do you guess that might be for her?
I cannot say. And can I just say that this B part of the season has been, like, I've been on the show now for about 4 years, and I've had to keep about 5,000 spoilers. And they usually, they put a microchip in somewhere.
It hurts.
Here, yeah, it does hurt.
Yeah.
Don't know where it is now. It's floating somewhere in my system. But it keeps, everything under wraps. But I have to say that this has been the hardest stuff to really keep under wraps, because it's so much going on in the second half of the season that's really thrilling and heart-wrenching and heartwarming all at once, and you're like bursting. So I'm bursting, but I can't tell you anything. But know that I'm bursting. So what was the question?
No, that says a lot, actually, that you're that excited for people to see the story. I think that says a lot about what might be ahead for your character.
Oh, yeah, and I think that, the thing that was really, I so appreciated those moments with Deanna, with Tova. Tova's such an astounding woman of the stage and of the screen, and, to spend any time with her as an artist is always really amazing. But also the story of her kind of opening Michonne up to. Michonne has had a lot of walls that she's had to let drop in the last, several seasons or several, few years that she's been on the show, and it's been a really fascinating journey to actually go through that with her and watch her drop a wall and open up in different ways. But I think she, in her mind, she was focused on specific things and she had it all figured out. I mean, she's kind of one of those people who thinks she has things all figured out, kind of like myself. But I think that moment, with Deanna, she thinks she's giving Deanna what Deanna needs in that moment. And Deanna's power as a woman, which she really admires, is that she's actually giving her something and awakening her to parts of herself that she definitely still has some walls around. And so, we'll see how that goes for her. But it was really great to be able to do that with Tova. So we'll see what happens.
And Melissa, an amazing arc for Carol in the first half of the season. I want to go back to just a little bit the episode, is it episode 2, the attack by the wolves, and that moment where Carol is just standing at the window and looks out and everything breaks loose there. But that moment where she's running around and trying to defend people and she breaks down, what what was the main emotion for her behind that? Was she feeling guilt that these people were attacked after they had trusted her? Was she just feeling the loss of, she had finally kind of found a place where she could just be for a little bit? Carol never lets her guard down, but...
Yeah, I think it's sort of a culmination of that and just all of that. There was this sense that community was going to happen again, that they're in a safe zone, that there's hope for normalcy and family and community and cookies and things, and then there's no safety, there's no guarantee for safety anymore, and also just what it takes, what's called upon all of them to do to survive. It's so unnatural that when you get to that point when you're in a safe zone and you're not doing it for a while anymore, you feel that. You feel normal again. And then it's quiet, except that seeps in what you've done. And then you have to process it and live with it and wrap your head around it and do it again. And it's realizing you're different. What do you do with that? I think it's just disappointing that it's not going to work out. The hope. There was hope.
Do you think that's why she has such an issue? She's the one who really takes on Morgan, because she would like what Morgan is saying to be true, but she knows that it just isn't.
Which makes it hurt even more. It can't be that way. It's not that simple. It's complicated. Yeah, we would all like to not have to kill anyone or take another life, but our lives are threatened every single day. We all face it in a different way, but how did you survive it? How did you get here? How did you get here? How have you been here this long? What have you done? Who's done it for you? You can say that, sure, but at some point, somebody had to bite the, somebody bit it.
Thank you for not finishing that.
Yes.
Well, speaking of Morgan, there's a big kind of hole in Morgan's philosophy, in that when he was taught all of these things out in the woods by Eastman, they were alone. They were out in the woods. There weren't other people to protect. There weren't a lot of walkers. There certainly wasn't a pit full of walkers after them. Is Morgan going to realize at some point the kind of flaw in his thinking?
Well, one of the things I like about what we crafted is even we see in episode 7 that Morgan is not certain about this. Like, this is exactly the philosophy that everybody has to have. It's more like, this is the philosophy that helped me. This is a philosophy I want to be true. I need it to be true. But you can see the conflict within him. And similarly, with Carol, she didn't kill Morgan. She could have just killed Morgan. She could have just killed the wolf. I'm sorry, like every time I say stuff like that, I'm like, wait, that was episode 8, right? Because I'm in the middle of finishing aspects of season 6. I'm working on aspects of season 7, so I have no idea where I am right now. But Carol isn't certain either. She would have killed them. They both know that they don't have the answer, but they both know that their experiences led them to this place in their philosophy. And they both hit upon each other's sensitivities. Carol is wildly pissed off at Morgan because she would love that to be true. But her experience has led her to do awful thing after awful thing after awful thing on behalf of others. She's sacrificed who she is completely to ensure people live. And for this person to say, like, oh, all life is precious, she's not happy about that. So it is. I mean, Melissa said what I just said, like in 10 seconds. It's complicated. Like the Alec Baldwin, Meryl Streep film, It's complicated. It's exactly like that.
But don't you think that's what makes all the characters' conflict so immediate and real? Because these extreme circumstances have led them each to completely believe that what they feel and what they believe is the right thing. That's why I think Glenn is so vehement about that. Look, we can give up everything except that thing. And that thing keeps floating. It changes. But and that's why when the characters, for me, I'm a fan of the show before I was on the show, the character conflict is what I was most excited about. And to see Rick feel so strongly about something and argue it to Michonne, and Michonne hit him in the face with something that's so, well, a rock, or a theory, that is so diametrically opposed to what he believes. I mean, that's what makes you think about the show, sort of, and reflect it and sort of apply it to life, and sort of how we feel about things and how we move through life. But the circumstances and the stakes are so high for each of these characters. I'd love watching Carol. Not you.
No, I often see Michael just watching Melissa at the craft service table. Just like
Getting larger
staring
every
from
month.
around a C-stand. It disturbs me.
Josh gave me this scarf.
Yeah.
And Michael's the one that put the microchips in everyone.
Yeah, no,
Well, Stephen, touching on what Michael said, Glenn has had this philosophy himself about continuing to reach out to people. We saw him do it, obviously, with Nicholas. Didn't work out well, although ultimately it did, so Glenn lives. Again, I have to say that. But then we saw him pretty immediately bond with Enid, which might have, maybe he wouldn't have done that. That's a way that character could have gone. But do you think that still somewhere down the line in the second half of the season, that experience with Nicholas is going to catch up with him? Is it going to somehow change how willing he is to just help anyone?
I think Glenn surveys every situation and kind of makes a decision based on what he sees, as opposed to a blanket coverage of one particular agenda. But I think where he does lean is to see the possible potential and good in every single person. And you can extend it that way, but you can also look inward and say, why would Glenn risk life and limb, risk the potential of not having his kid not having a father figure? Why would he risk all that for these people? And it comes down to, I think, he's trying to preserve a part of himself that he wants to pass on as a lasting legacy that may be a future spark, a spark for the future. That it's not as nihilistic as everybody kind of sometimes approaches it to be. Rather, Glenn has survived this long without killing somebody. He's survived this long helping people. He's survived this long caring for people. And that's something that he's learned from, Maggie. He's learned from Herschel. He's learned from Dale. Every person that's come before him has kind of pushed him into this trajectory. And I think what's cool about Glenn, where we find him in the last couple seasons, is that, he's no longer solely just an influenceable person, if that's a word. Rather, he's able to discern for himself and say, I see what you're about. I like that aspect. I'm going to take that. But I don't like that aspect, and I'm going to reject that. And what you see here is, the push to save Enid is a push to say, if I don't save you here, how can I look at my kid and say, I did the things that I'm supposed to do? How can I look at my kid and say, like, this is how you're supposed to live life when I didn't do it myself? So, yeah, it's cool. I love it. What you were just saying is, like, I know there's the foil of Morgan to Carol, but there's also this beauty in the sense that Carol and Glenn have floated around each other the entire time and developed these very different philosophies on how to survive. And both are effective, but they're also so counterintuitive to each other, or maybe the perfect yin to the yang. And that's what's so interesting about the show, like you said, is that, people's survival on this show has to do with the fact that they were lucky enough to meet each other. And I think Glenn is aware of that. And when he sees potential in someone, that's another cog in this machine that can help everybody survive.
Mm-hmm. That's something, I think, another big thing this season. Obviously, it's something that's always present, but this season more than any other, it just seemed like we really saw how any time these people are separated, just for a second, Glenn's separated from Michonne and the rest of the group when he went to the dumpster with Nicholas, it really can be the last time they see each other. And I remember when we saw the episode where Rick comes back from the RV and he runs through the gates, and it kind of hits you that something, he could have not come back, and Carl and everyone else wouldn't even necessarily have known what happened to him. Why is it this season what did you do to make that more present this season, for us to feel that more this season?
Well, there was this incident with Glenn where we denied the audience the knowledge as to what happened to him. And I think there was just like a hiss from the balcony. But I'm speaking to you, sir. But we wanted to put the audience through that uncertainty, through that, and of course, yeah, I mean, things looked horrible, and that's the way things went down. But there aren't cell phones, there isn't email, there aren't even 80s beepers. There's nothing, and when people walk out of the gates, that's the last time you could see them, and it could be the last time the audience sees them. And to see them alive after that uncertainty, to have that catharsis and that joy, that was something we wanted to give the audience. And it was something we realized that we had done the inverse of with an episode at the end of the 2A, Pretty Much Dead Already, where Sophia was out there, and are we going to see her, and are we going to see her, and are we going to see her? And the next time we see her, she's a walker. The long trip that we took for the audience was instructing them on a world where things don't work out. This was the inverse of that, or the converse of that, where things actually can work out. The good guy can survive. And I think if any audience in television has deserved that, it is this audience.
Lauren, you and Denai, again, both had these great bonding experiences with Tova's Deanna, and she left a message for you. We don't know what it says yet. In the mid-season finale, Denai, she had that great bonding experience and chat with Michonne. Do both of your characters, do you feel that you're both kind of left to pick up where she left off, and not just trying to make sure that Alexandria survives, but thrives with those plans that she had for it?
Yeah, I feel with this show, it's so funny because you said Tova, and I just thought of this. It's like there's a tree, and sometimes the leaves fall off the tree, and they go into the earth, and they're in the soil, and they help the other seedlings sprout and learn all the lessons of that the tree was offering before. And Tova herself is the tiniest, mightiest tree of a woman that I had ever met in my life. And she, as we can all attest to, came onto the show not for that long, actually, and left such a huge impact in the story and for us as characters. And, I'm confident that this was a very specific design from Mr. Gimple to sort of have this very strong grain of wisdom put into these younger characters that really needed that push of faith and that really needed that tutelage. And she has been that. I mean, she's one of those teachers you had at school that sort of told you something and you didn't really understand it until you left and you were in your final exams at college, and then you're like, that's what she meant. Why was it such a riddle? But just, yeah, these very precious things, and she just sees your potential, and like you said, she's, shows you the woman you're going to become long before you can know it. So, yeah, pretty lucky gals.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting with Michonne in the sense that Stephen was talking about how you can only survive with each other. I think specifically with Michonne, her journey has been, she could survive by herself, but her soul wasn't going to survive. And so stepping into opening herself up to community and letting go of that, single woman army way of functioning was her way of finding another survival, which is, I have to survive internally. I have to become a whole person again. And that journey definitely has been nurtured through meeting Deanna, because the idea that the thing that she was really fighting for was her humanity and the humanity of the group back in season 5, episode 9, around there, where she was like, we need to go to Washington. And she was seeing things affect Glenn and ways that, he was being, really affected by all the trauma they'd gone through and other people in the group. And she wanted them to preserve that thing that attracted her to them, and was the one who said to, along with Glenn and Maggie, said to Rick, we have to go to Alexandria and trust this guy. We've tried him out, we've tested him, Aaron that is, let's go through those gates. And so her journey has been about trying to, really nurture and revitalize and revive her own humanity and preserve it, and really test the limits of it, honestly. I mean, putting that weapon, that's kind of, a pretty Michonne version of a security blanket, and to actually take that and put it away was her act of resistance to her own habits and her own way of the way she was wired post, the apocalypse starting. So actually looking at a woman like Deanna, who has created the sort of community and the sort of society that she knows her people need to strive in. We're survivalists and we know how to handle the terrain, but we also need stability in this world. And we hadn't figured that out yet. Our homes have burnt down or been blown up, or, I don't know what happened to the church. And so we're not
A little
that
from
good.
column A, a little from column B.
Yeah, we're not that good at, putting stuff together and keeping it in place, feng shuiing the place. We're not that great at that. Yeah. So, the idea of coming to a place that really has been stable in this world, I think she really admires Deanna for that. Mm-hmm. And it's a woman, and I think that that really is also very nourishing to her. And so, and getting right through to the end when she asks her to be a constable, she's willing to take that step. I mean, she doesn't want to put on that lousy polyester, but neither did I, but we made it work, didn't we, Gimple? It's cute at the end, we laced it back. But it was doing that was an act of stepping into unfamiliar territory and trusting this woman, because and knowing that we'll never not know how to take care of ourselves, but there's something she's got going on that we should open ourselves up to. So I think definitely they both really gained a lot from that woman, and of course we did from Tova, who's
I want to add too, that it's so cool because Tova's character respected our group before she tried to impose things on us, and whatever we were doing, as you were saying, the feng shui wasn't right, and things just weren't quite sticking for this band of gypsies. But I loved that about her character, how she knew we had the brawn, and
she saw the good in us.
Have the intermediate,
And she was resilient. I think that's also near the end of her journey as a character. That was really something to also admire. I mean, she went through something that Michonne had gone through too, and she handled it a lot better. She lost her son and her man, and she handled that very differently from how Michonne handled that experience. So there's a lot for Michonne to admire in this woman, absolutely.
Do you all think, would you all make the argument that it was serendipitous that Rick's group, that you all showed up in Alexandria? Obviously, a lot of bad things happened afterwards, but just with the pit walkers, for example, the pit of walkers, they sort of knew that they were there, but they didn't know the extent of it. They didn't know that this dam that was keeping them in was about to break. If they had, we probably wouldn't have seen them come up with a plan, let alone be able to carry it out. So, I mean, you could argue that even whatever state Alexandria is in when we pick up with it in the second half of the season, that it's better than it would have been if Rick's group hadn't shown up. Do you agree with that, or would you say no, Rick's group's arrival was not a good thing
They
for them?
weren't getting anywhere without it.
Well, I think it's more, and this is just me, because it's not necessarily written out. I think it's more calculated than that. I think they went looking for us, or a version of
did.
us.
That's
I mean,
true.
it was Aaron was searching, but it wasn't just for people for the community. It was, they knew because they had gotten rid of some guys who probably were taking care of that job to a degree, but it didn't really blend with the rest and the people that they kicked out, and they were losing people here and there on the runs. I think that there's a part of like we were talking earlier. We do things we don't necessarily know why. They knew they needed us, and getting there. What gets us there with Michonne, talking us into staying with Rick and talking to Rick staying there. That they know we need them because we're starting to lose more and more of our humanity to a degree. And I've said this before as well, is if our group came across our group, we'd kill them. Because they're like fucking loose cannons. Like what the hell? But how did we get there?
Season
now, all
11.
you guys got there with us. So we're on, they're on our side. But it's all whose lens you're looking through, And I think they very much needed each other. Very much needed each other.
Yeah. We have some audience questions, so we will get to some of these here. Glenn has been through the worst experience one could face in the apocalypse. How will he save his humanity as the season progresses with a baby on the way? You've sort of touched.
Yeah, I mean, the answer to that is because of the baby. I think that's the single catalyst, I think that's what's great is you see season 1 Glenn kind of being reckless with his life, still scared, but very reckless with his life because there was no direction for him to go. Then he meets Maggie, and then there's clear direction. And, it took some growing pains along the way, but then they came to a place where they found some safety, and then they decided to make a child together, and that thing is now his main focus and what keeps his humanity. So, yeah.
What's funny is that question says, Glenn has been through the worst experience. And I look at all of these characters and I'm like, well, that's terrible, that's terrible, that's terrible. And that's terrible. So, yeah.
I was just mildly uncomfortable for like a couple of days.
It was a bit smelly under that dumpster.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a horrible dumpster.
It was a terrible dumpster.
I'm more concerned that you're seeing that as a personal challenge. That is Glenn's worst experience. Maybe not.
Well, no, I just think of, Maggie giving a woman a C-section and Michonne losing family, Carol taking down a couple of, one little girl. And the way that Abraham lost his family was horrific.
Comedy episodes would be so good.
Let me tell you. Yeah.
So good. So necessary.
Get ready.
Melissa, this is a great one for you. If there is a cure and Carol survives, in parentheses it says she will, what do you think Carol would do with society? You're in charge. Carol is in charge now. Yeah,
Carol's
apparently.
in charge now? Oh gosh, I don't know. I think we should set up a little, like a little strip mall.
Little flower stand.
A little commerce going on, some flowers, cookie shop.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like that you go with the flowers first.
B&Bs. He knows cookies and flowers.
Yeah.
The B&B.
Don't look at him.
Bed and breakfast.
Yeah.
Coffee shops. And get it going on. Start all over. That's, yeah.
This is a good one. How is Carol and Morgan's altercation differences going to impact the group?
What's the question?
How will Carol and Morgan's altercation differences going to impact the group?
Oh.
Sneaky question.
Yeah. No,
You
I'm
gotta,
watching.
you gotta watch it.
Next question,
Well, I can
please.
There's a sniper in the
I
in
can
the balcony.
say, well,
Speak as ambiguously.
right. The group is going to be impacted. In a very big way.
Oh,
Okay.
done.
The chip is in
Yes.
place. Yeah.
This is for all of you, which presidential hopeful can best handle a zombie apocalypse?
So many jokes.
Is this the comedy episode?
Yeah, they just sit around. It's historical, though. They go, which president?
Yeah.
And Lincoln is, is disqualified because,
Oh no, they said presidential hopeful.
Candidate.
No, but I'm saying that, well, obviously we couldn't do that in the show, so
Yeah.
we used historical
Oh,
presidents.
yeah.
And let me tell you,
Going to my
it's
Bernie
killing with
Sanders.
this audience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lincoln wants to make zombies great again.
Because it's not really a zombie apocalypse. It's big business and the result.
It's like
Mr. Gimple.
Oh,
Wow.
Bernie Nixon.
they do it. You're, in the words of Lauren Cohan, I don't want to follow Cudlitz.
Who's Deanna?
I don't know.
Do it.
You're not going to say it for us.
No. Actually, AMC won't let me say that anymore.
It's trademarked. Copyrighted.
He pours his heart out.
I was going to do
with
it
a
like 4
presidential-
times when they were doing their, but it was heartfelt character stuff, and I didn't want to turn it into a joke.
Could somebody else say it?
It'll happen.
Wait for it.
If each of you had to kill one character, would it be Daryl or Rick? Wow.
Who wrote that?
Who's Deanna?
Nice little.
This was directed at Denai specifically, but it's just, if Michonne had to kill one character, would it be Daryl or Rick? It's
Can I
so
see that
odd.
card?
I know, right? It's very specific, and
Did they leave an email address on that?
It looks like a 10-year-old wrote it. I'm not trying to be mean, but that's terrible handwriting. Who? 11? Oh. Really?
My God. Steven,
That was good.
you have won the Showcase Showdown.
NCIS.
Wow. Well, since it's an 11-year-old.
yeah.
it deserves
It's a great
an
question
answer,
for an
doesn't
11-year-old.
it? Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to dissect it. Now I shall.
And it isn't, I was looking to see if the L's, could be S's. Kiss.
Are there
Oh.
No,
It's definitely L's.
but I want to know the answer to the kiss one, too.
And then which one you marry.
I don't think she would kill either one of them. They are both very dear to her. Why would she do that?
Well,
I don't think that was a choice, though, in the question.
the Beyonder has come down. They're pitted against each other.
Why?
I'm just following the question.
It's in the hands of this child.
Just answer the 11-year-old's question.
Here. They're
I
both
think
drowning.
Michonne is very pragmatic, and she would find a third option.
Wow. Yeah. Wait, is this for the killing or the kissing? Okay. I think
Yeah.
The killing did most definitely.
and she would kiss them both.
Very possibly.
I'd kiss them both.
Why not?
I'd kill them
Why
both.
It sounds like your typical Archie comic.
Michael, this question is for you. Abraham's character has experienced a lot of loss, which always brings him to such a fragile state. What do you think his reaction will be if Alexandria does completely fall? Because he talked about that.
Personally, he's probably mentally in a better state if Alexandria falls, to be perfectly honest. I don't think Alexandria is good for Abraham's peace of mind up until where we sort of are with him right now. Alexandria is not. You want to answer that? Go ahead. We'll wait. Alexandria it represents sort of peacetime, and peacetime for a soldier of that caliber that has seen what he's seen, as with everyone, is not a good thing, because you're no longer looking forward. You're sitting, and you're looking and reflecting back. Very much what you were saying earlier is that downtime is not. Is not something that we want to sort of think about. There's too much to think about that we don't want to think about if we stew in it. Now, that being said, we're also at a point where he has, on the bridge, looked death in the face and confronted a lot of things within himself. He could have very easily, and Scott and I talked about this, he could have very easily have taken his gun, put a bullet in the walker's head, taken the RPG, but he chose to put his weapon down very deliberately and have this, mano-a-mano moment, and came to the realization of literally, what am I doing? There are other things that are worth living for. There is forward. And he's still processing that. So to get right back into battle mode is very comforting. It's like a big warm, comfy sweater. He's like, let's go. He knows that. Everything else is unknown that's coming from that, which is exciting for the character, but it's not a comfortable, easy place to be. And I would argue that it's actually more fun to watch the characters when they're not comfortable, to see the choices that we think they're going to make and to see what they ultimately do make and sort of judge or accept, not accept, figure out why they've made those choices. So yeah, Alexandria equal maybe not good.
This is not an audience question, but for you, Carl, such a badass in this mid-season finale. Not just a badass, but he's a grown-up guy. He's no longer a kid. Where can he go from here? I mean, can he ever go back to being a kid, or this is just all forward movement for him?
Well, without getting too into 6B, I would say it's forward movement for him in his mind. I mean, that is the overall story towards this half of the season, that he's not a kid anymore. Mm-hmm. And when he initially met the kids of Alexandria, he almost cried, because it's just like, there's a lot of reasons behind it, but one of them was he recognized, oh yeah, that's not me anymore. And there's been times when he's been ahead of his father in how ferocious he is and his view of the world. He's been brought back by his father. His father's gone way ahead of him. And in moments, both been his hero and monstrous. They're winding up closer to the same place. And, for him to have gone through all the things that he has, he can't be a kid. And I find, as far as of the writing of it, his relationship with Enid is really something where we can tap into that last part of him that is innocent, that is, he might have taken on human beings, he may have taken on walkers, he has never had a girlfriend. And she is coming from a place of very difficult circumstances and her losses, and I find their relationship really interesting to work on, and ways to delve into those characters more and tell stories that unearth the last bits of innocence that they have. So.
The biggest thing with him in that episode is just that he handles things. He chooses
Yeah.
to handle things himself without even telling Rick in the middle of this craziness. Is that something that we'll continue to see from him?
Yeah, Carl will regulate.
Fantastic. One more audience question is for you, Scott. Now that the show has become such a mainstream hit, how much do you let the fans' love for a particular character sway how far you'll diverge from the comics?
I don't think that's taken into I don't think it's taken into consideration about how much we might sway or move away, I mean, in general, we try to serve the comic story, but that takes changing a lot of times, and it takes shifting it to different characters. But we love all the characters, and we try not to let it affect how we tell the story. I guess we commiserate with the fans when we take the story in certain directions where we lose people. We're not happy about it at all. This show has been remarkable. It'd be great if I could hire some complete assholes, but I haven't, and it makes it really hard. I don't know if you've. Oh boy.
Get that for you, Scott.
That was very sweet.
Right?
What he did.
It's very sweet.
I told
Yes.
you to do more stuff like that.
Sweet.
One more question. You all have touched on it a couple of times. Spoilers. You joked about having microchips, but you really do have to be on top of your game to avoid things sometimes. Twitter, I mean, I've seen people stalk some of the cast members on Twitter, and if they're in California, when they know that something's being filmed, they're jumping to conclusions that someone has died. Lauren, your new haircut, I'm sure, has sparked some.
Sorry, it's the chip.
What are some of the craziest things? What are some of the craziest things that you had to do? What are some of the craziest things you've had to do or that you regularly have to do to avoid spoilers? Or what have people done to try to get you to tell them spoilers?
If you stay home, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. You just stay home.
You found that out a bit during the Dumpster Gate
I feel like
storyline.
that was really, really hard when those two episodes.
Yeah, and they were trying to get us in
insane.
all types of ways. Like, we all live kind of in the same area in Atlanta, and like, I had actually just had lunch with him, which was really funny. But then I went to this nail salon where I was getting gift cards for the crew and stuff. And then the guy who owns it was like, and he knows us all really well. He was like, so I've noticed that I haven't seen Steven around. He's like, usually I see him walking up and down, up and down. He's just not around anymore. I just don't see him. Is he here? Is he not here? And I was like, wow. Like, if I say I just saw him, that's a spoiler. If I say, no, he's somewhere else, that sounds like, I was like, man, this is really, really interesting. So I sort of nodded with him and just acted like I didn't understand English for about 10 minutes.
But what's crazy is the timeline, because when you guys see the show and Steven's character is potentially dead, and everyone where we live knows, we're
well past
9 episodes past that, and Steven was walking around last week in the town, and the show hadn't aired, but it airs, and so it's like, oh, where's Steven? We didn't, like, it's not happening in real time. So, but I
didn't
find
have to
this,
say that,
I
though.
find this time the 2B, because we're talking about stuff that we shot in August. And what Scott was talking about, where he sort of said, and you go like, oh, when did that happen? Because in the timeline of the show, from the beginning of this season to where we are now, we've like 2 days have passed. 2 days in time, right? 2, 3?
We don't need to be specific about it. I'm on the stand suddenly. Is it 2 or is it 3, Scott?
No, we've had 2 nights. You have witnessed. You have witnessed.
We're gonna work this out.
Nights. We spent one night in the insurance thing, and then I think there's another night. Anyway, but that's all the time has passed. So when we're thinking about these stories and we're thinking about the answers that we're giving to your questions, we really have to sort of dissect when that moment happened. You know, it's like, have we killed Daryl yet?
Yeah.
Is that?
What he's trying to say is we don't know what the hell we're talking about.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
We don't know anything.
Exactly.
You know what? Steven just earned a point.
Yeah.
They are tied.
Well, I think we can all agree that there is no other show for which people would be driving around measuring the clearance under a dumpster just to be able to justify to themselves that one of their favorite characters is still alive. I think that's all we really need to say about how much people love the show. And thank you to these amazing, amazing people for being here tonight. Spoiler.
No, I will not. I want you guys to have an unsullied experience. So no spoilers, but I guess the only spoiler is I'll return to the February 14th of it all. If you have a beau, a honey, a boo,
A bay.
A bay.
A bay.
a bae,
bae.
a bae,
Yeah.
Bay.
hold them close. Watch the show together. Your love will be tested.